fix my beard except for one thing. I shaved it off on Monday. My COVID beard. Bit of a Travolta.
Are we on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is this thing on?
Yeah.
Welcome to Stories from the Porch. My name's Shelley Glicka. Tonight we have George Scott from the Niagara Beeway. He's going to be talking all about bees.
Okay.
So, right to you, George.
Great, Shelley. Thanks very much. I really enjoy being here, especially on such a beautiful day. It's been steaming hot in the last 5 days, and today is the kind of day you pay big bucks for this kind of weather.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are in Niagara Falls. It's July, and I know it's the 29th, even though I'm bad on dates because yesterday was the 28th, which was my birthday, so I'm not likely to
Happy
forget.
birthday!
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And don't ask Colin. So why I like this neighborhood so much, just as a side story before we really get into the guts of the matter, is that there are two areas in Niagara where we get a lot of calls. We supply Niagara Beeway for more than 20 years, a free service to all residents of Niagara. If you have a swarm of honeybees in your yard or in your neighborhood, and you're worried about that, rather than reaching for a can of Raid or some sort of insect killer and going out there spraying with a hose and destroying it, your environmental option is to give us a call, and we'll dispatch a technician or myself. We'll come down there, and we'll capture safely, and we'll take those bees and we move them to our bee yard. Those bees in that box then become the training program for our apprentice kids who are learning how to do this. So the public in Niagara is our supplier of very valuable bees. So those are feral bees that come from trees that are previously an annoyance and sprayed, that we are now working together as a community in order to train our kids so that they can afford to do it, so that they're learning about it, so that they can meet people and be able to interact with people, and that's a skill that they all need today. But there's two areas here in Niagara that are special. One is Ridgeway, and one is this neighborhood.
Interesting.
In this neighborhood, we get calls, and the people call and say, I have bees. They're swarming all over the place. Improper use of the word swarm. There's just insects flying all over. They're honeybees. You have to come and get them. So our protocol is take a picture, we'll identify it as, and then we'll send the person with the right equipment to give you a hand. Thanks for the call. In this neighborhood, we get a call, and they say, can you come and rescue the bees? In Ridgeway, they call and they say, can you come and rescue the bees? Of the 60 calls in the last 15 days that we've got from St. Catharines is, I've got bees, can you come and exterminate them? We have a full licensed extermination truck. What is the difference between those communities and how did all that happen? I don't know. But what we notice is, we're not getting calls from an older community like Niagara Falls for extermination. We're getting calls for rescue. Is it the high schools that are teaching and kids bring it home? Is it something about the people who own the property? Is it the community itself? We don't know. But we love spending time in the communities where we notice that difference, where people are more energetic about saying to their neighbor, don't spray that. We have a card of this guy, George Scott from Niagara Beeway. They've got a free service. Let's see what we can do. We're only 40 minutes away from anybody. Niagara's only 40 miles by 40 miles, so you cannot escape us. We can service everybody, and there's only 500,000 people here, so it's really a community, but each place is different. So once we realize that, we have now thought about all of the problems that are in Niagara, all the problems that are in the world, all the problems in Canada with the loss of bees. In particular, our brother beekeepers who are in Alberta had a disastrous year and they lost their bees. I'm not saying how they lost them or why they lost them or anything, but they don't have the bees that they really intended to because they're dead. So they wanted to replace those bees. In Niagara, this is the best place in all of Canada to make bees because of our microclimate. Between the lakes, 40 miles by 40 miles, we have a perfect winter for honeybees. This is one of the most God-blessed and made places for honeybees. So we have the ability to make bees here, not just honey, but a product that we can supply to the big beekeepers. Alberta bee business is way bigger than Ontario, way bigger, unless their bees die. But what we can do is we can replace their bees so that their beekeepers, their bee industry, has bees where they can do pollination services. They can collect pollen. They can make wax. They can have honey. They can supply all the rest of us Canadians. If only the Niagara industry of bees was to make bees. But this year, when we offered them 1,000 baby colonies called nukes to the Albertans to help them out from Niagara, we can put together 1,000 colonies in 6 or 7 days, put them on a truck and ship them there, because in Niagara we are the interprovincial pollinators. We're the guys who know how to put 640 beehives on a truck, drive them to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and do the cranberries on the way back. So those are billion-dollar crops. People from Sarnia don't do this. People from Barrie don't do this. People from Niagara do this. Why? It's because of our climate. It's because this is the place to do honeybees. So we've had a very, very, very tough, I'm going to say 10 years. The last 3 years have been extremely tough, where many beekeepers have just hung it up. To compensate, Niagara College is offering a bee program to bring that people back up, but when you lose your top players, the newbies don't always fill in the slot. So making something that we have an idea of how to really grow this brought us to, because I'm a University of Western grad, I'm a case study guy. So we look around to say, who has a good program? What really works? What's tackle tested that we can do here like a franchise? And we ran into our brothers out west called Beemade. We love them. It's a co-op. They're a loosely knit organization who sends all of their honey to one person so that they can market to people like Walmart. So they can send a guy to Walmart and say, don't buy that imported honey anymore. Help us out, we're Beemade. All the pictures of our people are all around our label, and we're really proud of that, and you can go back and see where your lot number comes from right to your beekeeper. We're very proud of that, and we have other products too, and we're united. That works. That's Niagara. Putting another 50,000 colonies here in Niagara is very possible because, again, Niagara's 40 miles by 40 miles. We've got the best GIS people here in our watershed, like the conservation authorities, who know moist neighborhoods. When you're a bee, you want nectar. You don't want a dry neighborhood where everything's all dried out in July and August. You want a moist neighborhood where you get tons of nectar provision successionally. You don't have everybody coming out making their gardens beautiful in the springtime, but by August they're not even cutting their lawn. It's too hot. We don't see that here as beekeepers. We see the watershed differently, as moist and full, dry and not good. But some of those moist neighborhoods have people in them like this kind of neighborhood. I can tell you right now, 200 municipalities who are not in Canada who have honeybees, and they don't have problems in this type of human density neighborhood. We know how to do that. We know how to do that to take advantage of not only all the plants that people are making, so that those beehives, wherever they may be, can safely make honey, but they can be also very much part of your neighborhood. We're getting complaints now from all over Canada where people in their backyard gardens don't find one bee on their tomato plants. They're not getting any more tomatoes. Why? Because we're not just losing the honeybees. As all the insects that we're looking at, we make money on the honeybees. We don't make money on bumblebees, really. We don't make money on the native bees that Dr. Miriam Richards at Rock is so vocal about. Miriam is great. She's the kind of person here who can integrate with us so that all the species, not just the honeybee, can flourish here in Niagara, but we can also compensate for one another to make all those species. But there has to be a will, and there has to be a way, and there has to be a path. So we've got an hour here to chat a little bit about that. We're very excited because a couple of major things are going to happen. Some of these things are only going to come from Niagara because they're really not part of what they do in Guelph. They're not part of what they do in Barrie. They're not part of what they do in Sarnia. It only deals with people in Niagara because we see these things because we have the bees. When you have 1,000 colonies of bees, it's much more different than you have 12 colonies of bees and you're a hobbyist. But if you are on any of the boards or anything like that, you have one vote with your 1 or 2 colonies or 12 colonies, and the person with 1,000 or more has one vote. As an example of what works and what doesn't work, somebody with a small quantity of bees has a great idea about branding because they have marketing experience. And they're saying things like, we should paint all of our hives a robin blue color. And that will be our trademark, and everyone who sees that knows that they come from Niagara. Well, that's a great idea for somebody who has 12 hives and someone who has 6 hives. But for someone who has 10,000 hives, you just gave them a $30,000 paint bill. Someone's got to spray all those things. They got to bring them in. When are they going to do it? Oh, they have bees in them, and the paint could be toxic. And when you've gone wintertime and you've only got 12 bees, that's a nothing job. But our boards will look at a suggestion like that for 2 months. Why? Because it's run by hobbyists. There are way more hobbyists than there are commercial beekeepers. We don't want to separate them as they are getting more separate. We want to get them together. So the thought of Niagara Beeway in uniting these is to open up Niagara, put a grid system on it with our latest GIS stuff. When we have 5,000 colonies over there and we are treating on that week because we have found a parasite, that information now is available to all beekeepers in Niagara. So you know your neighbor is treating, why wouldn't you treat? Or better yet, he's treating, that could be pushing all the parasites your way. Or, let's say you're organic or you're just a lazy beekeeper and you don't want to do anything, you could be the well of disease all around everyone else who's spending money to treat them. You're a problem. This unification of commercial and hobbyists can only be done by sharing knowledge. Commercial people don't have any weight now to speak to the hobbyists when we make that available, because on our system you can dial in and you can say that you have noticed something. We're noticing small hive beetle over here in Fort Erie. It's just starting. It's early May. It's pretty early for them, but that's a sighting. Hey, we've got European hornets attacking us in August. Watch for European hornets. Put your front defense on there because our girls have no defense against the European hornet. They'll come right in the hive and get the young and rip them out and eat them. That's their job. That's what they do. But once you observe that and you share that with everyone around you who's not suspecting that, you know it could happen at that time in your area. So that's the information sharing. How difficult is that? That difficult. So that's something that we understand on how to really save the bees and to expand so that we can export our bees to our other provinces. Selling bees is more profitable than making honey. So I see we have some new people here.
Hey guys.
We're very excited because, first of all, there's 2 new people here, but also that tomorrow we are launching a program here to make a very, very significant change in the Canadian beekeeping world. And what we're going to do is we're going to do something here, and my staff would say, let's put our big boy pants on. Realize that most beekeepers, as we proceeded, are very medieval. Our leaders are Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble. Okay, we like isolation. There is no standard practice. Yes, this is an industry, beekeeping industry, pollination services, is strategically critical to agriculture, right? Strategically critical to agriculture. Without those, you can't make watermelons or squash or many of the very high valued vegetables that we eat, the high price value ones, blueberries. Not only do you not get them, but a blueberry plant, when it gets hit by a bee that's coming for the nectar and the pollen, pollinates more completely. So you get a better quality blueberry. That blueberry has many little seeds in it. You know, when you eat it, and take it all apart, you feel little crunchies, or those raspberries that are perfectly rounded, or those deformed ones that seem to be dry on one side. They're not dry. That's incomplete pollination. So not only do you get more raspberries and blueberries because every flower gets a visit from one of our girls, and by the way, only the girls work. The boys do not work. They have another job. They are the pride of the hive because they carry in them the ancestral genetics and the go forward. All the girls love them until the frost comes, and then they get the heave ho. Okay, so they're at the end. When the girls want boys, they can make them. The heart and soul and the vibration of everything that comes out of a beehive is done by the queen and her worker girls, whether they're nursery girls, bricklayers making the comb, quality control, ventilators, defense, imperial guard, massage therapists, hair grooming, fingernail girls. What do those 50,000 girls do in that box at night? Every night for 9 hours. What do they talk about? Hey, how was your flight? I don't think so. I think that they're far more sophisticated. A little side story. I think we're pretty sophisticated, right? We could do something like this. We could write down on a piece of paper how to build a diesel engine and make electricity. And we could all die. And somebody could come here and the only thing that they know is how to read. So they could read that and say, diesel engine, make electricity, my life would be improved. That information now went in a form that we're very proud of called writing. So our communication skills is why we're at the top of the rung. So here we have a bee. Its brain is about as thick as your fingernail. How does it communicate? Now that we're starting to lose our bees, we're really starting to pour the study on them. Well, some of these new chemistries are interfering with their communication. Well, what communication would that be? Well, when you tap on a beehive like a woodpecker, they start making a noise. That noise is a warning. That's an audible sound. That's a communication by noise that they are making saying woodpecker, right? Send out somebody. An action. So a sound, like we make a sound, means something. The bear is behind you. That means something. That means turn around and look and start running away. That means something. So that's by sound. They make a noise when you tap on their hive. Well, when the new queen leaves the hive, and she takes 20,000, that's how they replicate. The old hive leaves behind one, and the new ones go look for a new cavity somewhere. When that new queen leaves, she is trailing behind her something that you cannot see. They can see it. It's a hormone. Picture it like a big purple cloud. So all 20,000 girls who want to go with her because they hate the old girl's shoes. They don't like her hairdo and her dress sucking. And the new girl's got everything. We're going there to make a new life. We would rather live anywhere but here. That's the new colony. So her hormone is how she communicates with everybody. Follow me is a message that she's sending. 20,000 will follow you and land when she does. When she lands, all of them will gather around her. So that's when we come as Niagara Beeway to retrieve those. We can put them in the box. The queen's in there, and she goes, what happened? Oh, leather furniture, color TV, new batteries and remote control. This is our house. We can easily transplant them into these boxes. We can manage them, feed them, clean their parasites out, give them medicine, help them, use them as an educational thing. That box, that Langstroth box, is their new home. So we've got sound communication. We've got a hormone communication. Follow me. Right? So also she can use a hormone not just to follow her during swarming, but if she detects that it's too hot in the hive, she's only one of 50,000 in that box, she can send out her hormone saying it's too hot in here. Everybody starts ventilating. She's communicating some message saying temperature is too high, start to ventilate. So you've got sound and you've got hormone. But wait a second here. A mathematician saw this little movement in the hive and put little stickers on there and followed the bees, went and found out that the bee makes a bee dance. The more it rattles like this in the hive, and remember it's dark in there, so this is tactile. When it wiggles like this, it says 2 kilometers. And on the angle that it goes is the angle of the sun, so that all the bees who are touching her, who turn around and do the same dance, now you've got 100. You went from 1. He was the scout who found the cherry tree, brought the information back, quality control, checked the nectar, said that's what we want, take 4,000 more with you, no problem. He goes and does, or she goes and does a little dance, they turn and do the little dance, they spread, they do the little dance, 4,000 of them go to that spot.
Wow.
So they've got an information here that's really sign language. They're making a movement like this, and this is saying, please go get me my sweater. I didn't say those words, but you know, because you speak sign language, that this is what's coming. This is a movement. A movement represents something. So now we have knocking, we have hormonal, we have sign language. We aren't even done yet. Remember, we're the smart ones because we can write the diesel thing here. When we pull out frames of honey that are all capped, even the bees can't smell through that capped wax that's in there. They don't know if behind that wax is pollen, or honey for eating right now, or honey for later, or honey for winter, or medicine for the babies when they have diarrhea, or whatever is in them. They're all capped over. But when you put a various types of different light on there, like IR light, you all of a sudden start detecting a pattern written on the caps. Remember, it's all dark in that hive. What this is don't feed this, don't eat this. This contains bee bread. Open this young one, he's due May 15th, blah, blah, blah. All the information is written in like a braille. So when the bees run across the surface and they're told to go get the stuff because the babies have diarrhea, they can go right to the cell because it's like the monks who made the brandy. This brandy is 1804, right? So they have identified what's in there. They can open that up and let the little one out on the day it's supposed to be because they know that's what it is. So now they have a written language. You can take that frame out and put it into a hive in Europe. And those bees will go right through there and do an inventory of what's there, and they'll immediately go and start opening up very specific cells for food for the day. How do they know that? That's a written language. That's a written language. That's a written transcontinental language. So now we've got hormone communication. We've got sound communication. We've got a written communication. But get out of town, they got antenna. Antennas for frequency reception. The biggest part of the bee's brain really goes to their eyes so that they can fly. It's a compound eye. They can see predators, they can see food, they can see different colors, they can see absorption, not just reflection. They can see a lot of things. But the second biggest part of their brain goes to their antenna. So you asked me earlier, what do the bees do at night? What do those girls talk about at night? I don't know. They got their Wi-Fi on full blast. It's broadband. We just don't know the frequency that it goes at. However, that's a data storage device. That's a hacker question. That's a kid right now trying to figure out, how do I hack into that system? How? And kids are now working on that because we have fabulous tools and fabulous opportunities. So we've got a written language, we've got a sign language, we've got a hormonal contact language, we are sophisticated as one species. They've been here for 54 million years unchanged. Oh wait, they did make one change. They evolved. They became ants. They didn't need wings anymore. So ants are like the next wave, right? What will ants become, right? Bees already made their evolution. They're going to stay where they are. They're not going to evolve into something that's going to eat Tokyo. It's not going to happen. They already made their evolution. They became ants. And ants are probably the most successful insect in the world today. There's more ants than any other creature, right? So how does all that work? How are we evolving? How are we more important than them because we're bigger? I don't know. Remember, their brains are only as thick as a fingernail. So that was just an aside about the communication things that we are now really starting to explore with a creature that's really only this big and lives for 37 days. So what do they talk about at night? I would say hairdo. Hey, look at your hair. Hey, your hair got all messed up with that pollen. Where were you? When did you get that mud on you? You go over there. Don't be with us. You know that? What do girls do at night when they talk? Well, they've got systems whereby they can communicate. They can be healthy. They can have a bad hair day. Young Nicholas, one of my apprentices, as we're going through the hives and we're doing something that I put down on the list and we're going regimentedly through that, we get to one of the maybe 30 hives that we're doing and he goes, perhaps you shouldn't open that one. I think he's done 30. I think he's just lazy and he's a teenager and he doesn't want, no, he goes, I don't think you should open that one. Nicholas, why don't you listen to me? I know everything. So we're going to open up this hive. We open up, the girls are having a bad hair day. Everybody else is nice and quiet. We've checked all the frames, everything. These ones come pouring out there and they are not happy. They are trying to get into the suits and they're trying to sting everywhere and all their stingers are out, so they're not happy girls. So I put them all back here and that's the end of our work day. And so when we're done, we're sitting there having a lemonade and I asked Nicholas, how did you know that that hive wasn't right? That they were going to do that? And he said, they were making that noise. I've been a beekeeper, a registered beekeeper in Ontario, and a beekeeper before they had registration. And I'm multi-generational. And I didn't know that. Nicholas was an autistic kid. Now he's 19 years old and he's got a job and he won the welding championship and he's a fantastic beekeeper and a great kid now today. But he had a gift that we weren't listening to. He had a gift that he could detect something here. He had a detection system where he could understand that. So all of us are different. I've never met two people who are the same. Listening to one another as to how our perception is how we can proceed better. When we can't listen anymore is when we are most likely not to be able to take opportunities to their maximum. In a community like this, we want to do that. So we have a website, we are looking for all that kind of feedback now. In the last 10 days, feverishly, I've been sending our new video, which comes out tomorrow. It comes with a letter. And what it says to the most important bee administrative people here in this country, federally, is that we no longer want Food Inspection Agency, Canadian Food Inspection Agency called CFIA, to be the go-to people for everything we do. Our label, our font, our color, whatever, our size of jars, how we do all those things. What genetics can come in as replacement bees? Who can transfer what? Canadian Food Inspection Agencies has our veterinarians, right? So they're very helpful in getting us. Today, beekeepers are quitting. Really, 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 really good beekeepers who have 25 years experience, who have a lot to offer people who are interested in bees. They have equipment, they have dedication, they have knowledge, they have wisdom. They're stopping because all of the import product now, which we are testing, 3% of those imports, are found 70% of the 3% that we checked, 70% of those were adulterated. That means it's not honey. It's some other mono sugar. It's not a sophisticated polysaccharide with all those little enzymes in it that you really want. You go to the store, you're making a health food purchase, you pick the raw, unpasteurized honey, you put it in your tub, it's $1 more. Well, the price you can buy that at right now, the retail price, won't change. But the wholesale price of us selling into those big stores is so low, it's lower than the cost of our jar, the label, the lid, and the box that goes in. Forget about the freight of getting it to the store in Port Colborne or the store in Niagara Falls. However, those products are coming from every country now. And I would not say every country, but they're coming from countries in quantities bigger than those countries can manufacture. So we should be a little bit suspicious as to where this is really coming from. If you're a guy and you're living in a country and you have a very sophisticated machine where you can put in a 69-cent a pound sugar, rice sugar, cane sugar, whatever sugar, corn syrup, and you can make a product that even a beekeeper can't tell the difference, and you can sell it for $2, that's way better. However, beekeepers sell it for $4 wholesale. So when you come into a country and say, I can sell all day for $2, there's a $35 million bid. Jeez, look at this. I came in and met these Canadians. I got this machine. I made $35 million last year. How did that happen? where did that $35 million really go? And how does that affect our current industry, our mature beekeepers, our Niagara College graduates? There are no more jobs because there's no money in that. You can't buy a jar and put honey in there and sell it. Yeah, you can go to a market and do that and make $8,000 a year and put in 8,000 man hours. That's not working anymore. So Niagara Beeway knows this. This is not uncommon knowledge. If you go to Netflix, everybody gets Netflix, I think. Rotten, that's episode 1, season 1 of Rotten. If you type that in to search that, if you watch that show, that's exactly what's happening here in Canada. That is about bee fraudulent honey and who was in charge and what they did in the United States. There were 3 guys who did this business. They were making fake honey, counterfeit honey, and selling it directly at mature, developed markets where beekeepers had developed those markets. Go right there, see what the guy's doing, go after all of his customers, he's out of business. When they found out that it was counterfeit honey, they had a big kerfuffle in the United States. Those 2 of those 3 guys went to jail for food fraud. The 3rd guy lives in Toronto. It's not a crime here. Our gates are open. Niagara Beeway see an immediate solution that doesn't require $12 million of tax money to do more testing of whatever product is coming from Argentina or Myanmar or Vietnam. To test all of those products, we'll never test it all. We can't rely on their documents because they're shipping counterfeit honey here. They've already been caught. Putting a 5-year ban on all imports is what we're asking, not CFIA. CFIA have to spend money. They have to tell the border security guy border services have to get the sample. They have to send it to CFIA. CFIA have to test it, say it's good, bad, or otherwise. Border security have to reject it. Well, if you've got $35 million, it's pretty hard not to impact a guy who only makes $68,000 at border services. How did all that counterfeit honey get into this country? It got through border services. However it got through border services, we don't care. But we have to take the pressure off of border services so this cannot happen anymore. Giving somebody an envelope and saying that container should come in here can no longer be allowed. CFIA cannot do that. However, we have another group of very talented people here called Global Affairs. Those are our trade people. This is not a quality of food issue for us. Unless we let it in, then we have to sort through the quality. This is Global Affairs because we don't have a machine to make that stuff. Okay, so we have bees and we extract our honey from the bees and we sell our honey. That's the process in Canada. And we are a net exporter. We export more than we consume. So stopping all of the imports coming in this country will not impact one Canadian in price, or quantity, or availability. It will maybe affect somebody in another country, but it may affect a guy in Toronto. And if you think that your money, when you buy a Chinese blend or a Myanmar blend or a Vietnamese blend of unpasteurized honey, it's never been tested, if you think that you're helping out a Myanmar beekeeper, give your head a shake. That's not real. You're not helping them out at all. That money is not reaching them at all. If you think you're helping an Argentinian by buying Argentinian honey, if you think that money actually gets to the beekeeper, you're wrong. However, if there are no imports and we're asking for a 5-year trial import, if we're all wrong, if we're wrong, you can throw us out of Niagara. We're from Niagara and we have a complaint, but we want to see this in September. So tomorrow, on Niagara Bee website will come the official video to Ontario Beekeepers Association saying, do you support this or not? Here's the letter that goes with it. Here's specifically what we're going to do. We're switching this over to Global Affairs. We are petrochemical guys. In our other disguise, in our real life, we are petrochemical guys. We know how to do this. We have talented people here in Niagara. You've never tried this before in your organizations who are already doing it in Ontario Beekeeping or in Canadian Honey Council or any other group. If it would have been done or been thought of or anything like that, they would have put it in their newsletter or their periodicals over the past 5 years. They don't. Why? Because they don't have the people. In Niagara, we got We are border people. We're touching a big thing here. It's not uncomfortable to see people from Buffalo stop here at our thing and say, you know where I can get a beer? That happens all the time. We have Niagara Falls. We get, 17 to 19 million people coming through Niagara. Niagara Falls is 60,000 people. And 19 million people come here. So we are all set with how we do things. We have seen different people here. We have very sophisticated people to service all of that flow of people. We have a long history of this, and we are trade experts. So we know how to go to global affairs and in 2 weeks say, shut everything off. Send the memo to border services. It is all closed. Anything that's in transit between now and then is allowed, because that's only fair. But anything that starts in transit after such and such a date, like our harvest time at the end of September, is not allowed. It's rejected. Everybody knows that. No one shipped anything in September yet because we're not in September. But if you're in some country and you're going to try to get into the Canadian market and you ship in September, you just blew $4,000 because your container will be rejected by border services because didn't you read the memo? That's all we're looking for. Easy breezy, cost $5. Deputy Minister says no more honey coming in here. Or we could go to the CFIA and spend another $12 million testing all that stuff so that they can figure out how to crank their machine down so that it gets underneath the tests. We already know how to get under the test. We already know how to get under the new nuclear MRI that detects all the pollen and all that stuff. We get pollen and put it in there. We know how to hide that. We know how to hide C4 and C3. We know how to do that because once you set a test, then all the sophisticated cheaters just work on the test. That's been their history. They're way more sophisticated. And if I said, here's your problem, if you solve this problem, would you like $30 million? And it's quiet. And you can only call on 3 guys, let's say Loblaws, they're big food distributors. Just call on one guy in Loblaws and say, my price is $1 lower, and watch what happens. You want to buy my honey? I'm from Ethiopia. And it's the best in the world, and it's guaranteed, and we have a full take back, and it's $1 cheaper than anything you're buying. We'll meet any price less than $1. You're the buyer. Your boss is going to give you one of these for cutting the price of the honey, or better yet, you're going to go to your boss and say, hey boss, I got a better product, $1 more than anything that we've ever bought before. Your boss is going to say you're fired. So that's a Canadian way. We want price. We want price. We need to change that. Let the market set the price in the stores. When people aren't buying it because it's $20, it'll go back down to $14. If you get a good deal at $10, still, the wholesale price that goes back to the beekeeper is only $4. That's what we're asking. We're asking for a wholesale price at $4. When was the last time you bought a pound of honey for $4? Never. That's a wholesale price. Your retail price is $10 to $14. So your Loblaws or your Sobeys who are selling products for $8, $9, $10, $14, they're buying it currently for $1.57 a kilo.
Wow.
We can't buy a lid, jar, box with the spacers in it, put them on a skid, and ship them to Cambridge main distribution for all the stores. That's just not physically possible. So what do? As Canadians now, we have tanker trucks of honey from last year's harvest. Now we have to drop the price because we have too much stuff. We need those tankers because our new harvest is coming up. If the administration of the current bee people here who run Ontario Bee and they run Federal Bee, and we are members of those organizations, we pay our dues, we are members in good standing. But we're from Niagara. We need something right now that they're not doing. We're asking them if they want to join us because we're going to go and do this now. We're not asking their permission. And if they say yes, then we're happy. We're happy about that. If they say they need a feasibility study, we do feasibility studies. You want to pay $60,000 for a file that goes in your file cabinet? That's great. You want our guys in Ottawa to go to the deputy minister and say, geez, you've been neglecting us. This trade thing here that we're showing, Netflix knows about it. George Scott video at the World Food Sustainability Conference in Poland. Go and have a look at the video of George Scott at the World Food Sustainability. The title of my presentation is Don't Let Your Country Have This Happen to You Like It Did in Canada. And this is the story of our bees. This is the story of Netflix. Season 1, Episode 1. How do they know about it? And you'll see the labs in there where they tested the honey and said this is all adulterated counterfeit honey. That gal in that lab got samples from me that I took in Port Colborne from President's Choice raw unpasteurized honey. The next one, black and yellow stripe from Argentina. Got that one. The Korean one, I got that one. I throw them all in a bag. Couple from my bee yard where I run the extractor. I put them in there too. I get it on an airplane. I fly over there. I give them to them. I say, you test them. I get the report back. They go, this President's Choice stuff is a very sophisticated product, but it's adulterated. It's counterfeited. People going there to say, I have a diet requirement. I need to get raw unpasteurized honey because I have a problem, or my kid has a problem, or I have a dietary need. You buy that, you read that, you trust it, you're not getting it. So the reputation of Canadians now who blend and sell that to one another, how does that impact me personally? I'm from Niagara. I've got customers in Rochester and Buffalo. They're big bakery supply guys. I go over there, hi, how you doing? I see you're buying here today. It's $2.60 US. I like US money. I'm Canadian. US money's good. Why? Because it's bigger, right? But the guy says, yeah, I buy for $2.60 US all day long, but not from you. Why? Because you buy that contaminated stuff, that counterfeit stuff, you blend it with your stuff so you disguise it, then you try to pawn it off on me here in Rochester. I'm the big bakery supply house. So I'll pay you the prices that they pay in Canada, $1.57 a kilo, not $2.60 a pound, $1.57 a kilo. We're out of business. Those are my big customers. And now COVID-19, the border thing is a little more tricky. You know, is honey delivery a essential service? It's food. Are we sending anybody over there to service account? We can't. So that business is now closed to us. We need Global Affairs right now to put on their big boy pants now and to no longer neglect a strategically critical industry to agriculture. It is not the agricultural minister. We understand the conflict between the grain growers and their use of imidacloprid and chlorinated nicotine and how it kills bees. We don't want to get into that conflict. The Minister of Agriculture has got his insecticide problems there, and we're the insecticide people. We're not asking for the Minister of Agriculture to do anything. We're asking for Global Affairs to say this: no more imports for 5 years. Done. And let's see how it shakes out. So that's tomorrow. We're really excited about it. Our videographer Kevin has spent time really putting it together. Most people have corrected my spelling mistakes on my letters and saying, you know, you said that twice, so you got to take that out. So it's a synergized document from people who are really involved in the beekeeping industry. They are heads of different associations all around the country, whether it's in Nova Scotia or in Alberta. Those people are my friends. I fly out to Calgary and I say, this thing with Global Affairs I'm talking about, is it of interest to you? They say, this will solve the biggest problem. This will put revenue back in our pockets. One more year of losses and the federal government will have to come in and be beekeepers. Do you have any idea what it would take to make $4 million worth of honey if you started from zero today in Niagara like we do? I'm not going to say it's going to cost you $4 million. I'm going to say it's going to cost you $40 million. And you won't do it for the honey. You'll do it for the pollination services because all the pollinators are here. If all of a sudden we stop doing business because we can't compete anymore, the honey producers who cut our revenue in half now mean our bees are in half, which means we don't have enough for the blueberry guy, the cranberry guy, the apple people, the cherry people. Sorry, we're not coming. CTV News in BC today has an article, and I'll share that with you, how the BC Minister of Agriculture is looking at what's happening now to their pollination services. They didn't get enough. They couldn't order enough pollination services. So their production of the essential vegetables in the province of British Columbia is a fraction of what they need to be. That means farmers' revenue is less. They don't have enough pollinators. They're calling for it. They're saying, oh, we got to get more native bees here. We have to do something to stimulate that. Well, if the honeybees, the commercial honeybees are dying, what do you think is happening to the native bees? Good question. We have a native bee expert here at Brock University, Dr. Marian Richards. She's a great gal, really super knowledgeable, has a little staff and a little lab. She doesn't really like honeybee people. Why? Because they compete with her native bees. She studies native bees. Her native bee colony may be 50 or 60 bees. It's going to the same flowers the honeybees are going, but we've got 50,000 bees in one of our boxes. It's just a numbers thing. So she's always warning us about that, saying, could you please keep your commercial bees away from the Conservation Authority areas. In the Conservation Authority, let the native bees have those. Let them reproduce in there and have all the vegetation in there. Don't be bringing your commercial honeybees and putting them all around the conservation parks for our native species, because that puts pressure on the native species, which are not just plants, they're the bees. So we have agreed with Miriam. But I believe the main reason that Miriam likes me now is when we published our numbers 2 years ago about our losses. Our 97% losses of our honeybees were identical to her losses of her native bees. So the same thing that was happening to our insects, were bees, were happening to the ones that she loves so much. So we really now have a lot of, let's call it cross-pollination, where we actually go and meet each other. We are friends now. It's a good way to sit down and relax and discuss what it is possible that we can do in Niagara to preserve some of this natural heritage. Is it important that we build automobiles here? Well, we do employ, and we have put 26,000 people to work here at GM and Columbus McKinnon and all those places that made brake parts. We have done that. But 19 million people come to Niagara because it's a natural wonder of the world. It's one of the natural wonder of the world. It has nothing to do with making transmissions. Transmissions we don't make anymore because now it's all out. John Deere tractors, we don't do that. Those are temporary businesses. When we train our kids and grid out all of Niagara for our moist neighborhoods and utilize all of our farms and have one hive per acre roughly, you've got a 50-acre farm, you can have 50 hives there. They can survive. You can't have 500 hives there because there's not enough food. But roughly, the equation, because we're math heads, 1 acre per hive leaves room for everybody. 1 acre per hive puts insects up in the air. If you're a bird and you've got babies and you eat on the wing, which means bugs in the air, I'm sitting outside here, there are no mosquitoes. I live in Wainfleet. I live in the swamp. It was every penny that we could put together to buy that little swampland way back when we bought it. But you couldn't run from here to cross the street and back without donating a liter to the mosquito population. We've seen 2 mosquitoes this year. This is an insect issue. The new insecticide now is water soluble and systemic. It means it goes in the system. Let's say something like Wuhan to the White House, it's a system. It goes from one thing to another, not from people to people like the new virus. It goes in the water. But for the insect, like the bee, if you make 2 plates, one with the insecticide in there and sugar and water, and one with just sugar and water, the bees will come both the first time equally. The second time they'll go to the one with the chlorinated nicotine or imidacloprid in there 14 times more often than the one without. It is chlorinated nicotine. It's immediately addictive. They bring it back to their young, they're all dead. Even at small quantities, smaller than any machine in public health in Niagara can detect. So it can be in your water. Public health can come and detect it. Their machine cannot get down low enough to detect it at its fully operational level. That which the farmer's putting it on to kill. Oops, I shot it in your water. You don't mind, do you? It's a neurotoxin. Wait, it attacks acetylcholine. Wait a second, that's our nervous system. The same way our nervous system works is how it kills the insects. But don't worry, it's okay. It's at a dosage in your food that won't hurt you. Set a dosage in your food that won't hurt you. But that didn't say anything about 20 years of putting it in our water. That's where we're finding the bees are getting. Bees are voracious water drinkers. Those girls are in there doing ventilation duty all day. They're not going outside. They get thirsty. They don't have beer. We have beer. Hot day like today, we have beer. Some of us have water. But those little girls are all little tanker trucks. They run out and get nectar and bring it in here and they put it in the hive. They run out and get water and give it to their sisters. They're voracious water drinkers. They mix water with their pollen and their honey and their fungus and they put it in there and seal it up and they make bee bread. Just like we make yogurt, you get bacteria, you put milk, you put it in there, close it, put it to the right temperature and all that stuff, you open it up, you've got yogurt. Well now, the bees, they get fungus. They go and get the fungus. They put it in there with their pollen, add a couple of drops of honey in there for a carbohydrate, let it cook, and when they open it up, they get something that's more highly nutritious than the ingredients that they put in. Like you put flour in, and you get bread out. Just like that. That bee bread they feed to their young. With the new chlorinated nicotine that they want, that's a very active insecticide. It looks like this. It likes to join things like your nervous system, but it also likes to join into petroleum products, non-biodegradable petroleum products like oil, or like fungicides. Remember, the bees are using fungus like we make bacteria into yogurt, but when they pick up the chlorinated nicotine that they're addicted to, it has a fungicide on it because naturally in the environment it's going to pick up all of the petroleum products. Now we've got a chlorinated organic. We know a lot about it because in Niagara Falls we invented a product called PCB. We invented that. We invented Agent Orange here. Our chemical industries invented those right here and we ship them worldwide. But then we learned, oops, maybe we shouldn't have invented them. Maybe they're really bad. All of a sudden, because PCBs, a chlorinated organic, is something that we learned about that. It kills people. You put it in your water and you die. It's not good. We don't want it. You spill this much over here, you got 5 guys who look like John Glenn coming to take your furniture away. Okay? This stuff is a chlorinated organic. Also, it joins into field-ready fungicides. That's where the bees are picking it up in the wintertime when they go to their bread. They eat their bread in winter, they eat their bread, feed it to their young. The fungus is no longer working because the fungicide intercepts the action. It's like putting the bacteria in your yogurt, but the bacteria doesn't work. You open it up and you got stinky milk that's 4 days old. The bees open up their bee bread and it's good. What happened? Oh, somebody didn't pay the gas bill to cook it anymore. The cooking process is intercepted by a fungicide that was brought in with the water and introduced into the bee bread. So it took us a little while to figure out that, right? Because we had to go to labs outside of Niagara because Niagara doesn't have a single lab even at Brock University that can even look that low at the damaging levels. That's where we are with this whole thing. So anyone who says, oh no, don't worry about it, it's safe because you can't see it. The invisible man with an axe around here that kills a person every day in your neighborhood, you go, well, I can't see him, so we don't have to worry about it. You can't see this one. And we don't know the long-term effect because it's only been in Niagara since really 2000, right? And 2000, 2001 was very low. In 2002, we used it on our farm. We used it as a seed coating on our soybean. Right? The hay and all kinds of weeds in there, so we sprayed to kill all the weeds off. We had a soybean run in our crop rotation. That product hasn't degraded since 2002 at all. It's only supposed to last 200 days. Yeah, in Arizona. But Arizona, it only breaks down in the sunlight. That's how these new insecticides break down in the sunlight. Well, in Arizona where it's tested, it's 140 degrees here and it's a desert. In Niagara, we got a really weird thing that happens here. It's about this high, it's everywhere, it's called snow. When the snow's this high, no sun is hitting the ground. We have that for like 6 months. So for 6 months of the year, there is no degrade of that. Not only that, snow is made out of water, so that when our snow goes like this and turns into springtime and it runs away, It's water soluble, so it goes somewhere from where we put it to somewhere where we may not want it. We're now tracking that and learning a great deal. This is a chemical that should not be invented. It is banned in the country where it's made, and it's used here. No soybean guy is making more money than he made before this chemical. All the soybean guys aren't driving Escalades like poultry. Every poultry guy who's making eggs or has a poultry barn, their wives are all driving Escalades. Why? Poultry marketing board, poultry, all that quota stuff that they have. Soybean farmers aren't any further ahead from before this chemical. I've never, in Wainfleet, and I have good neighbors who are soybean farmers, I have never heard of a farmer losing his crop because of insect damage. Never. And for the $29 to $39 an acre it costs you to put the insecticide out there, did you have $29 or $30 crop loss from insects? No. We had a big flood that killed everything, and the crop insurance paid that. No, we had a drought and everything died, and we got little teeny weeny beans, and we couldn't even fill a hopper. Yeah, there was lots of beans, but they were so small we only had one hopper. So we didn't make any money. Those are crop insurance things. I don't know anybody, but I do know just about everybody at the same time used that same chemical here in Niagara. So we like to study the real life history and life cycle of things. So I went to Clark Agrichem, and I went to Pioneer Seeds. Those are the two biggest corn and soybean sellers to farmers here. They have roughly 50% each. They're great guys, great companies. I asked them, how much of this seed coating are you using per year? Guy looks in his book, says, we use about 30,000 pounds. That's a truckload. And Clark guy, really helpful guy, yeah, we use about one truckload each. So that's all our farming uses one truckload in the springtime. So I send my staff out and we go to every place where they have chlorinated nicotine products, dog drops, veterinarians, shampoo for fleas, non-food production agriculture greenhouses. All those places we go to, all of those places, and say, hey, doing a study here, how much of this stuff do you have in stock? Okay, got it. And when do you reorder? Okay, yeah, you got 2 skids in stock, and it's out by June, and you order 2 more, and you use it because people put it on all year round. Veterinarian, I got 2 skids here in the back of these little tubes. There's 10 tubes in a box. I sell them to customers, and they put 1 tube on every month. Right? Okay, we got that. When we added all that up, remember, all the farmers together used 2 truckloads in the spring. The urban use of the same chemical and more sophisticated and more expensive, $15 for a little tube like that. The farmer pays $3 a liter. Right? Big difference in the price because the consumer is bigger. But we use, as urbanites, on our dogs and in our gardens and cosmetically, we use 12 truckloads. So 14 truckloads are coming into Niagara every year. Times 10 years, it's 140 truckloads, number one. The farmers get all the blame, and we spend $18 million making sure that they're trained, and they have to make it, and the sales are going down slightly, almost 10% down for farmers. So that's working, right? The sales of dog drops and other products to consumers in the urban area have doubled. There's no control on that. There's no control. So the elephant gets to run through the house, but we really give the mouse a strong talking to. We spend millions of dollars training that mouse, but the elephant went through there and killed everybody in the kitchen. And that was the problem. The mouse didn't kill really anybody. And the farmers got all the blame. But that's kind of like, don't look at the man behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz. Don't look at the man behind the curtain, but that is the wizard. That type of deception means that you'd be happy to give away all, so let's say that you are the chemical business. Yeah, those farmers are bad, they should be cut in half. That's 1 truckload loss. But we got a new special for the veterinarians. That's 5 more truckloads. So make a big splash and put the heat on the farmers, and in the meantime, it's not even listed as an ingredient on the products that you're using. Farmers know what they're using, and they're trained. You're buying it, and you don't. And you're paying 50 times the price. So that's a market worth protecting. got a dumb customer who buys regularly all the time. And he buys 12 times more than your main customer for what it was designed for. Remember, these products were never tested in Niagara. That's our biggest question. I didn't really come to talk so much, though, about the sophistication of our problems as much as the excitement we have and the improvements that we can make, the slight changes that we can make to Niagara College. More importantly, the shift down from Niagara College. To get into the Niagara College program, you have to have a degree, and then you can apply for the program. But most of those kids are older. They have student debt. They have kids. Beekeeping is the kind of industry where we need lots of hands. Many hands make light work. And you need strong kids who come to work every day. And when do you need them? Let's see. You need them in May, and you get rid of them on Labor Day. Well, geez, you know, we have 70,000 high school kids here. Niagara Beeway now is refocusing all of our energy into the high school kids. A kid from Niagara College who gets out of school, and these are hard numbers. When we pay him minimum wage and he ends up at the end of the year with $3,600 in his pocket after being a beekeeper, he's not really interested in it because his kids' diapers cost that much. You give $3,600 to a high school kid and he's okay. Plus his parents aren't worried about him because he's been working every day. He hasn't been downstairs playing Halo, right? So beekeeping is more something that you would see a team, a guy and a gal in high school in grade 12. Someone's taking the record keeping and someone's lugging the 80-pound boxes for 20 minutes. Change over, someone else is doing the record keeping, someone else is doing all 1 hour of scraping. When you have teams like that of people, those are the most efficient beekeepers. Those are our high school kids. We've done many tests, and the high school kids, they show up, they never miss a day, they love their work, they talk about it all year long, and they can't wait to come back, and we hire them all back. Niagara College kids, we've never seen a kid in the second year. It's a cumulative thing. You learn tricks from old guys like me on how to do things, where to put your feet, how not to squish the bees, when to pull honey, when not to, when they need help, when they don't need help. It's cumulative. Every year I learn more and more and more and more. You read more. YouTube's fabulous for learning. You can spread that around. When you lose a young kid that we spent all that money to train him at Niagara College, and he's going to go be a banker, that's a great loss. When we get a kid in grade 10, he's still 100 pounds. By the time he gets to grade 12, he'll be 200 pounds, right? So that kid, we want that kid. We will pay for that kid. That stops the immigrant labor. But we need that training program. We need orientation. We need that. We need the school boards to help us out with that. So that's where we are today. We are looking at that as a resource here where we can give back, but we get back. In order to save the industry, if we don't have the barricades brought up by global affairs, it's not worth the time for the kid to say, hey dad, can I borrow 30 grand? I want to start a garage for changing brakes. Sure son, here's 30 grand, you can do that. Hey dad, I want to borrow 30 grand, I want to get some beehives. I don't think so. Why? Because you can't sell the product. I get stung all the time. I don't like it. It's work every 3 days. Blah, blah, blah. I don't like that. You're not getting the money, son. Sorry. Wait a second here. How about this? Global Affairs puts up a barrier. All beekeepers are now like poultry guys. You got 1,000 hives. You're getting $100 worth of pollen. You're getting 100 pounds at $10. You're getting $1,000 out of that hive and all the products, including bees. You got 1,000 hives times $1,000 each. That's a lot of dough. Every person, every beekeeper can handle 500 hives. That's how you hire when you've got 10,000 hives. You can't quite get to 700. I know some of the beekeepers now are pushing their beekeepers in the field to do 700 or more hives a year. They've got to cut back because they can't afford it. Let's change all that. Let's change all that. Let's have a lineup of people ready to go. Why? Because it makes good money. Oh, here comes a baby.
Hi, Elliot.
So on Niagara Beeway, we have a website. We have a section called Studies where we do certain things here because we are in the environment about nectar provision on a successional basis. What that means is that we just don't plant one cherry tree that blossoms and think that we do a good job. We want things blossoming and providing nectar in early spring, mid-spring, late spring, early summer, mid-summer, late summer, early fall, so that the bees never have a dry period when we're spending energy being gardeners, because we all love being gardeners. We're from Niagara. We love being gardeners. We love lush stuff. What the sophistication now that we're bringing into the eco clubs in high school is, find some crummy land. Find some brownfields. Go to your municipality. Here's a suggestion that we would do. Even if the ground is half gravel and old clay and whatever it is, buy one of the buffalo burgers for $50, a hay bale, the round ones that you see in the field from a farmer. Unroll it. Leave it right on the ground. Call us, we'll bring the rototiller there and get your seeds. Have a chocolate bar or a honey fundraiser, sell balls of honey, go buy some seeds and put it in that row and watch what happens. That row of perennial flowers like boneset, Joe Pye weeds, they're not noxious weeds, they are weeds. They are killed by Roundup if you spray them. But those are weeds that come at different times. But they are a very sophisticated product. So that strip that you made is now a seed bank that provides seeds for a whole brownfield. Do that 5,000 times, and you've got now a neighborhood that can make $5,000 worth of honey. Nobody in your neighborhood is buying it because that guy over there has got 8 hives on his roof, and you can walk there and buy your high quality honey. You don't have a problem. There's 119 biting, stinging insects that are called honeybees in Niagara, of which only one is a honeybee. They get all the blame, but there's 119 biting, stinging insects in Niagara. So, as we refocus all those things to their real priorities, the honeybee is going to become more and more important for our ecosystem. Why? Because it may be the only insect that survives. When all of the insects die, how would you like to be the mom who flies all the way here from Argentina to make your nest in Niagara like you've been doing for the last 5,000 years, and you eat insects? Oh, wait a sec, there aren't anymore, so you can't feed your young. That lasts about 2 years. Now we have no birds. Mom can't feed babies, they're gone. Mom ate insects. Wait a second here. The beekeeper can put 50,000 up. Bees only live 37 days, so near the end of the day, we don't mind if the birds eat them. We don't mind if the birds eat them. That's a sign of health. As the girls get older, they start doing things like going to all of the other girls who are younger and taking all of the harmful stuff away, like spider web, and I got 2 days left. Yeah, let me pull that spider web off you. Oh, you got that bad insecticide on you? Let me suck that stuff out that no one will drink. And then they fly out and die. All that poop in the hive, let me take all that poop out. This is my last flight. I'm 36 and a half days old. I'm flying extra high today. My wings, when I came out, they were nice and supple. I was on ventilation duty till they got strong. But after 37 days of hitting these really hard pedals, they're all chipped and broken like my fingernails. They're all chipped and broken. I can't fly so good, but I can help with all my sisters by taking the poisons and toxins out and flying out. That's my last gift to my hive. That's a communal creature. That's them looking for each other. They're not out to sting you. To sting, they have to die. It's not like a hornet that stings for a living, but getting spiders and paralyzing them and eating them. When a honeybee is sent to sting you, it's authorized to get its stinger out, but it is instant death for them. They're not going to survive it. They're only stinging you to protect the young, to protect food, to protect their colony. It's a mission that they're on. They are authorized to sting. They will not sting under any other purposes. But they get 100% of the blame for every kid who gets stung. Oh, look, they got me. Well, the honeybee gets the blame. Part of our education as we offer this free service, as we have our technicians going around, is to explain that. To explain that the honeybee is what we call a beneficial insect. So it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Not everybody here is allergic to it. Matter of fact, just about everybody I make a call and say, you have to come right away because I'm allergic to it. When they say allergic to it, that's an urgency, right? Now I have to pay attention because one of my brothers here in the neighborhood is allergic to something, and if he gets stung, then he could go funny and not be right. So I'm there. But when I really get there and I ask him some questions about his allergy, he's not allergic at all. He just said that. It's okay, but that's very common. So when you think about that, there are very, very few people who have allergies to bee stings. More people have allergies to peanuts. I have never heard of anyone in Niagara ever dying of anaphylactic shock from a honeybee sting. Nobody, ever, in all my life, and I'm a beekeeper. So let's say that EpiPens and all that stuff are a concerned mother who would give it EpiPen. Why EpiPen? You better look at the date. They only last 90 days. Last year's EpiPen has a death date on it. You have to keep current on EpiPen. So all of those things there are common in Niagara. We run into it all the time. We like to share that information whenever we can because we want to be real. In Niagara now we're putting on our website some shirts and people said, here's the hi, I'm a little goofy bee, little cartoon bee, nice logo, all the word Niagara's on there and everything like that. And we said, you know what? Let's not go with a cartoon bee at all. Let's go with the real photo image of an actual bee and put it on all of our stuff. Let's not have any cartoon at all. We're not using cartoons. If we want to display anything, let's show people the real thing. Let's give them reality for real. Not trying to trick them into the Cheerio bee who's always happy. The little Billy bee who wants you to do something or other, you know, works like a so-and-so, those little signs, blah, 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 something bee. That's not what honey beekeepers do. It's not what they do. They're very real people. They're really in touch with the climate. They have a lot to share. They see the watershed unlike anybody. They're all over the watershed. The watershed's important. We have only one agency looking at the watershed. That's the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. They also do native plants. Beekeepers are experts on those things. We seek them out. We know where they are. We know when they come. We put our bees there. It is an income thing there. There's never been a beekeeper on the Conservation Authority board. Why is that? Why is our technology not there? Shame on us, really, because we are medieval. We're hiding behind our bee suits. Now we're starting to say, why isn't there ever been a beekeeper on the board of directors of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture? Ever. I'm the first one ever to stand up there and say, hi, I'm a beekeeper. I want to be on your board. Why is it? And it was a hard time getting rid of me. Half of the people listened to me and voted. There were 12 people. All of a sudden now, there's only 3 people, and I'm one of them. All of a sudden, people are running around to table saying, not the beekeeper. So when I get to the top 3 and I'm still not on the board, and now I don't want to be on the board, right, because it's just too big a time. But never having a beekeeper, strategically important to agriculture. Never in the whole history of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. Why is that? Obnoxious personalities? Could be. Could be. Bad work ethic? I don't think so. Beekeepers are working around the clock. We move bees at night. We service them during the day. We're working 24 hours a day. We're cutting our staff back. That means we're working not less, we're working more. So it's not our work ethic that's stopping it. It's another decision process. But we do have very valuable technology that we'd like to share, like I've done here today. And Shelley, I really appreciate the on the porch discussion here, so I'm just going to wind this up a little bit. If you have any questions, of course, we're all about questions, but if that's suitable for your timing.
Yeah, no, that works really great. And if anybody that's listening online has any questions, just go ahead and type them and I will ask. So, do you guys have questions?
Yeah, you know how you were saying you're writing that letter?
Yeah.
When will you hear a response?
Oh, well, we don't know. But the way we structured our letter, and that's a great question because that was the first thing that another association, I sent them the letter. They said, what is the response you want? So we put right in there to them, you can say no, that's okay. You can say yes, and we'd love to work with you. If you say maybe, that doesn't mean anything, that's no. We're going tomorrow. We're going tomorrow to the federal government, we're going to start this anyway. Maybe means you're over there somewhere, we don't know what you are. So maybe it is, maybe we'll call you back, maybe you won't. Yes means you're on, no means you're not. Maybe means no. Scheduling it for March to be, because COVID things, we can't really, no problem. We're working through COVID. We can get to the deputy minister pretty quick, like Friday. We can get to the deputy minister directly. So the response that we're looking at, the response time, is targeted in the letter itself, saying that September is our harvest. If we don't stop those things right now, then we're going to still contend with the blenders who will not buy our product. If the blenders who are making private label honey for all the big stores in the millions, they're the biggest buyers. If they buy our product like they used to in the old days when no honey was imported into Canada, right? Our business is great. We love those guys. But right now they can't buy our product because somebody else is going to always have a lower price because they want our currency. Their currency is, they need foreign currency in Argentina. They will take 50% of the beekeepers' honey because they know that it has value in Canada and they can get foreign currency, and they're in desperate need of foreign currency. It has nothing to do with beekeeping or trade. It's a government decision to get foreign currency. We're buying that. Loblaws, Sobeys, they're buying that with Canadian dollars. That's all that matters, period. It doesn't matter if it's broccoli or honey. Well, it matters to us. It matters to our kids. It matters to our environment. It matters to our health and the quality of our food. So those are all of the issues that we're facing today, and we believe that everything that we say makes the system better. It makes our quality of life better. It doesn't affect pricing. The wholesale and the retail price are almost not related. The retail price is not likely to change at all. It doesn't matter if the wholesale price doubles, it's so low. So low. So it's not 50%. It's a good business to be in, to own a store and sell honey at $10. That's a great business. You're making way more money than the beekeeper. You're making $5 a jar. And what are you doing? You put the jar on there, somebody comes with their money, you give it to them, you make $5. What does a beekeeper do for that $5? All winter long, he makes his equipment. Then he buys his bees and puts them in there and feeds them. Make sure that there's no dirt. Every 3 days he's there cleaning them all up and making sure that everything's there, and he's adding extra equipment to them until he can harvest it. Then he's harvesting his honey. Then he's putting it in a jar, then he's delivering it to you for the same $5. You took $5 by putting it on the shelf. Thank you very much, $5. The other $5 went to the guy who actually did the work. If anybody in this country said that that's not fair, I'd like to see them here. If they don't understand that, I'd like to call them directly. I've never had a beekeeper say, I don't support this. From Nova Scotia to Calgary, Alberta. I've never heard one beekeeper, but I've heard 10 people who are involved in the administration of beekeeping say, geez, I don't think we can do that. That would really piss off our foreign clients where we export. We can't cut them off because they buy our honey. We would be hurting our customers. To which I would, as a petrochemical guy, I would say, let me think about that. You're fired. Why? Because the buyers and the sellers are not related at all. If you think there's a guy in Argentina who sells Canadian honey, gives a crap about the fact that somebody here is buying Argentinian honey, they are so different people. They're so different rules. They're so differently motivated. Their cash flow comes from something. They are not related. All countries are not going to say, oh, you stopped buying our honey. We're not going to sell your honey in here anymore. No one's going to do that. That's not the way trade works. We've had trade infractions here. That's what we're looking to break. Oh, I see that Shelley's looking there.
No, I was just looking to see if there's any questions. I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Number one, how do we as consumers ensure that the honey we're buying is not fraudulent, is not contaminated?
I would say that it's absolutely impossible, because even if you called the buyer of the honey and said, I've got some honey here, can you tell me its origin? He'll say it's Canada #1. Once we're finished with the trade issue, we'd like to do something else. And that's something else, and we're not picking on Canadian Food Inspection Agency. I love those people. I work with them a lot. I know them personally. They're doing a great job. But on every honey jar, you've got a nutritional label. It tells you how much sugar and carbohydrates and fat and all those things that are on there. So you can look at that and you can make some decisions. But all honeys have that on there. That's the approved nutritional label, which is meaningless. Why put it, if they're all the same, why put it on there? However, if you're a good beekeeper and you have basswood honey and you're harvesting it in June, and it's a product that's not classified by its color, it's classified by what it contains, what pollen, what protein does it contain, what is the quality and the concentration of the sugar. Every beekeeper is different. That's what should be on the label. That should be done by blockchain. Blockchain is cheap. Why? Because every beekeeper can say, hi, this is my video in my blockchain. This is lot number 12 on July 29th. Lot number 16525 is going out today. Thank you very much. That video is part of the blockchain so that when you go to the store and you buy it and you look at that lot number and you go, lot number 1275, where did that come from? Blockchain will take you right to the hive, to the guy, because of these. Cheaper, better, faster, secure, no fooling. Having a quality control by color, light amber. What is light amber? Clear white, buckwheat dark. That's not a quality control. That's a way of allowing foreigners to come into this country and say, this is Canada #1 light amber. Now you're a customer, you say, I want to buy Canada #1 light amber. That's what you're buying. But it's made in Myanmar, Vietnam. You don't want that because it doesn't have any of the pollen that you want to fight against. The things that all of the nutrition and the issues that honey bring to our benefit, not just a sugar, not just a digestion, all the good things. As an example, we have a young lad, he's 7 years old. Another person in the audience here. Needs a haircut,
just the neighborhood dog.
Young Thomas is 7 years old. He has allergies. His mom brings him over, and his allergies really start in early May and June. And he's only 7, so he can't get the shots. But when he's 8, he can get the shots. I said, "Well, has he been tested?" "Yes, he's allergic to this pollen and that pollen and that pollen." Okay. So now that we know Thomas, we're going to write on this hive Thomas. And in that hive, 3 or 4 weeks before he shows any symptoms, we put in a pollen catcher, stainless steel little trough like this where the bees have to go through it. The girls can't bring the pollen into the hive. They can get their bodies through, but the pollen gets knocked off. So at the end of the day, we get a big tray of the pollen that's coming out in every day in May, every day in June. So now we put that into a jar, into the fridge, and he takes that. And the pollen, as they collect, they mix a little bit of nectar on there so it makes a little ball, right? So it's a sweet tasting protein. It's pollen. Pollen is a protein, right? So now Thomas can take a teaspoon starting in December, first week. Every day he takes 1 teaspoon on his cereal or wherever he's throwing it in there rather than sugar. And what happens is when that protein in the air used to land on his moist membranes, it used to puff up because his histamines were being released to fight the invading protein. But what we do to Thomas is we give him this protein and he eats it, and his body now says, wait a second, I don't have to fight that anymore, that's food. I know that protein. My digestion has identified, it's landing on my eyelid now, it's not getting puffy, I'm cured. No Claritin, no shots, no antihistamines which have harmful side effects. This is Egyptian technology, 5,000 years old, for cure of allergies that are pollen related for people who are tested, not camel dandruff, it's pollen. If you're allergic to camel dandruff, we can't help you. But if you are, we can make a hive specifically for you during the time that you're sick, harvest that, and in the next year, starting in December, way before you get it, you train your body to say, that's food. I'm not reacting to that anymore. I'm not sending my histamines to make my eyes all buggy. My lungs aren't going to be coughing or anything like that. I'm cured. So now, we have it ready for Thomas. We're delivering it to his mom tomorrow. He's going to take it starting December 1st. 2 teaspoons a day. That's all he needs because it takes a little while for our digestion to get into our blood for recognition and then for not releasing the histamines.
Fascinating.
That's amazing.
I have another question. So as residents in a more urban neighborhood or suburban neighborhood, what is the best thing that we can do to encourage healthy bee populations, both honeybees and native species? Would that be to plant native plants?
I would say the main reason that we offer a free service to all people in Niagara is for two reasons. Number one, so that they don't outright kill the swarm of bees.
Mm-hmm.
That's a genetic package where we know that they've successfully made a new queen, and she has gathered all the right numbers of, like, those aren't just bees. Those bees are nursing bees, bricklayers. All the things that she's going to need to make a brand new home are all in that clump. When you take that clump and gently put it into a organized frame box, she's got everything there that she needs. She can start laying eggs. The first day she can lay 2,000 eggs a day. In 10 days, that's 20,000 workers. That's really good. But she has to determine how many, based on all of the bees that come back who touch every plant. She knows every plant and when it's going to come. She's laying eggs for the harvest of those plants 15 days ahead. So her ability to plan, recognize, and identify is all given to her, the data by the scouts who come in. Is that their Wi-Fi? Is that their mouth-to-mouth? It's all up to her. She's laying those eggs for a certain thing. Every once in a while, she'll stop laying eggs. She's predicting a drought. She doesn't want them to go eat the stores. She doesn't want it. Next 10 days, she's not laying any eggs. Why? Because she doesn't want to feed those 20,000 because August is coming and she thinks it's going to be stinking hot. She hasn't laid eggs for 5 days. It's not that she's defective. She made a decision. She's saving that for winter. She'll start laying eggs in September when the goldenrod comes, when the asters come, when those fall plants come. And then she'll go in there and she'll finish everything up for her winter, and now she's all set. So she is making decisions based on what her scouts are telling her on her population control.
That's fascinating. Do you guys have more questions?
But that's the first thing. The second thing is that we don't want people going to release cans of insecticide. When we look at 1 can of insecticide, that's fine. But realize that when you take a can of insecticide and spray it around a lot this size, that's more insecticide than a farmer would ever put on a similar area in the country. So the concentration of insecticides in our urban environment are like 50 to 12 to 50 times higher. So whenever we go there, we're stopping someone from releasing insecticide, and occasionally we do have to exterminate, right? So we do judiciously use that. But we would prefer to go through this education process to say, don't be standing out on your porch and shooting out a can of yard guard, because cumulatively, when you count the number of truckloads that come into Home Hardware, who have our poster right up by their insecticide, Canadian Tire, they have our poster with the bee on. If you're looking at this clump of swarm, call this number for an environmental alternative. And that comes to our line, and we send a technician there and as fast as we can. Those clumps don't last a whole day. Those girls want to just change their Wi-Fi around and go to a new cavity. So the most remarkable thing that we've learned when we retrieve swarms is how they do that. When the queen lands on a bush like that and they make a clump of bees around it and they get to know her, right? They're totally enriched in her hormone. They are her slaves. What she's doing is she's sending out scouts to find every cavity here that could possibly be a new home. Those scouts come back, they transfer that visual knowledge. Remember, they've got very sophisticated eyes. They transfer what they saw for the dimension, where the wind is, all the things that are important to her. They tell her about 50 or 60 cavities. She picks one. She turns that visual scout message into a hormone. She lets that hormone go on that whole clump of bees. All those bees in there turn their GPSs onto that information. They all fly right directly to that place. They don't lose one bee. So she can change all of those things for a directional thing on the GPS from the spot where she's choosing the data from a scout. That's so remarkable that it blows my mind. A hose will destroy all that. A hose intercepts, washes the bees out. They can't get the message. They lose the message. They drown. They get blasted away. They don't get the full message. They may start flying back to the old colony. But remember, those girls already called the old queen ugly, and her shoes are ugly, and her hair is ugly, and they would live anywhere but there. Now they've got to return there, and they may not get in. Disturbing that in that natural selection at that point and sending them back there is almost a death sentence for those girls. We don't like to lose a bee. That's why we're very judicious about capturing and being very gentle with them when they're naked. They're not defending anything. You can stick your hand right in that clump. It's scary, but they're not defending young, and they're not defending food. They're not defending. They're waiting for information so that they can go do something. That doesn't include stinging. If you act like a woodpecker, or you act like a bear, you can expect to be stung. Right? If you start hitting the swarm like that, oh, by the way, this means come and sting me on the lips. When you see bees flying around your head and you start doing this, it says, hey, the rest of you, come and sting me on the ear or on the lips. So don't do that.
Good advice.
Just walk directly away from a hazardous spot. So I'm sorry.
No, that was great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Just double checking. I don't see any questions on there. So that was a lot of information, and it was really fascinating. I feel like I learned a lot about bees and beekeeping tonight. Some of it's a little, frightening, I think, with not being able to ensure that our honey is actually pure honey. And so good luck with everything tomorrow.
So the words I want you to use is, hey, George, that's a great idea. I really support your work with global services.
Hey, George, that's a great idea, and I really do support
I'm
your
astonished that you've come to that conclusion.
So thank you again, George Scott from the Niagara Beeway. And next week we have Fallon Shaw. She is going to be talking about the Rainbow Crosswalk in Niagara Falls. Have a great night. Thanks for watching.